What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. It is Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. It was a great game yesterday, Super Bowl 54. The Kansas City Chiefs did walk away with the Super Bowl trophy in the rings, or the ring. I did pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game, so we will talk about that in this video. We also going to talk some Atlanta Falcons news and notes in this video. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel, please. And also hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done content. I appreciate every single one of you guys for continuing to help grow the channel. But let's jump right into the video. So first, we're going to talk some Atlanta Falcons news and notes. If you haven't heard already, breaking news today, Vic Beasley will no longer be an Atlanta Falcon. He will not be re-signing with the Atlanta Falcons. We are not pursuing him in free agency. They are allowing him to walk and become an unrestricted free agent. So I wish him happy trails to Vic Beasley. I wasn't sure whether we were going to try to re-sign him or not. I did feel like he was one of the players I was interested in us re-signing or bringing back. I did believe that Vic Beasley played solid enough down the stretch to possibly be brought back maybe on a 3 or 4 year deal. But I'm okay with the move of us moving on from him as well. I am loyal to the Falcon logo, and I know players come and go. Now, the writing kind of is on the wall of why Vic Beasley may have been cut. I believe that the Falcons are looking to bring back Austin Hooper. And that's possibly one of the #1 motivations for letting Vic Beasley go, is we need to save as much capital and as much money as possible so we can try to make this deal happen for Austin Hooper. You may have been hearing Austin Hooper at the Pro Bowl. He's been talking to the media about he hasn't been offered a new deal yet and all of that. But Arthur Blank kind of put some of that to rest at the Super Bowl. He did speak to the media, and he was telling them that we plan, or he did say that Austin Hooper is well deserving of a new contract, and that kind of speaks, his words speak loudly with me, with Arthur Blank being that he is the owner, and with him saying that he deserves a new contract. Usually when Arthur Blank says that a deal possibly is going to get done, it usually does get done. It's the same thing he said with Grady Jarrett and Julio Jones. He didn't call Austin Hooper an Atlanta Falcon for life, but he did say that he's a player that deserves a new contract, and that we're going to try to work towards that after the Super Bowl. So I do think that they're going to try to work something out with Austin Hooper and get him re-signed. And I feel like Vic Beasley was one of those guys that was like one of the players that had to go due to the capital that we had, and due to the the tight cap that we're kind of in a cap, kind of cap strong at this point, where we don't really have the money, the funds to bring back all of these players. So I think that Vic Beasley was just one of those guys that got cut because of the lack of money that we have. Now, with him going, I definitely believe we're going to bring in an edge rusher with the 16th pick, which will be our first round pick. I'm not too sure if it's going to be AJ Espinoza, who we've been talking about probably about over a month. And I've been seeing his name come up in the mock drafts, which I would be fine with bringing him in. But over the weekend and over the last couple of days, the guy that's been coming up in the mock drafts lately is Kayvon Chason, excuse me, out of LSU, the pass rusher, the edge rusher. I went and watched some tape on him, on Chason, and he does look like he's a quality player. Looks like he's a very aggressive player. I did like that I seen him doing some pass rush moves in college. I seen him do a spin move, kind of like Dwight Freeney. I seen him using his hands, and he's a long player, long, lengthy player. Looks like he plays with a lot of speed. He's athletic, just like Vic Beasley, and he does look like he's a player that possibly could be drafted at that number 16 spot. I would be fine with either him or AJ Espinoza. I would be fine with either one of those guys, but we definitely need to draft a player to play on the D-line and also draft a player that can play on the O-line. So I think maybe with the 16th pick, we go with the defensive line first, and then we'll come back in the second round and try to get a left guard, or with one of our second round picks. I see us taking an offensive lineman, and we may double dip with the defensive line and go defensive end O lineman, and then a defensive tackle. Because I still feel like we need to bring in another defensive tackle to help out Grady Jarrett. But we're going to see what the Falcons do. But I am happy to see that moves are being made. Arthur Blank did say after the Super Bowl we're going to start making moves, and it looks like we're not a full day into the day after the Super Bowl, and they're already making moves and making adjustments. And I do like that we're moving and shaking. I do believe that we still have our core pieces intact with Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett, the back end, KZ and Ricardo Allen. We have a lot of key guys that's still on the team. Tat McKinley. We still have a lot of the core guys that's still here. On the defensive side of the ball, we just need to address the defensive end position, which I really believe we're going to address that here in the draft, and also bring in some more beef on the offensive line, another guard, a left guard, because that was the weak position last year. And Arthur Blank also talked about us addressing that position as well, and us being able to stop the run was another thing that Arthur Blank suggested. So those are things that we definitely need to address in this draft, and I believe we will address that here in the draft and in the free agency. But I believe also I wanted to say with the guy Chason I was talking about out of LSU, he's a guy that puts me in the mind of Leonard Floyd that plays with the Chicago Bears. He played at the University of Georgia, tall, skinny, like slender player, but gets pressure on the quarterback as an edge rusher. I can see Chason being that similar type build and similar type player, and he looks like he plays with a lot of speed. And Dan Quinn loves speed guys that are fast, guys that can flow sideline to sideline. And Chason definitely looks like one of those players that's a guy that can get after the passer and definitely can play multiple positions. Not only can he come off the edge, but he also looks like a player that'll be able to spy on a lot of these mobile quarterbacks that are in the league right now, like a Kyler Murray, like a Pat Mahomes last night playing in the Super Bowl, like a Lamar Jackson, because the league is changing. The NFL is changing from the pocket passer to the more mobile quarterbacks and the spread offenses like we see in college. So you need some of these guys, these edge rushers that are quick, that can run after the quarterback, can sack the quarterback, and that can keep up athletically. So I wouldn't mind, like I said, either of those players, AJE or Kavon or Chason. I wouldn't mind either one of those guys. The Falcons drafting either one of those guys. But let's go ahead and jump right into some Super Bowl talk. That was pretty much all I had for our Atlanta Falcons. I'm glad that moves are being made, and I will have some videos later on in the week because I'm sure more moves are coming down the pipe, and I'm very interested to see what our Falcons do going forward. But it looks like we're already making movement, and I do believe our Atlanta Falcons are going to make the right moves to become a contender for the Super Bowl in 2021. So let's go ahead and talk about this 2020 NFL Super Bowl that took place yesterday between the Chiefs and the 49ers. I was smiling from ear to ear last night when Kyle Shanahan, they showed him on camera when they had blew the lead, and it was like the Chiefs were pouring it on, and it was just about time for the game to be over. And Kyle Shanahan looked sick on the sideline. He looked like I looked when the Atlanta Falcons lost the 2016 Super Bowl. I was very sick. I was very distraught and upset about the game. And I was very upset of how Kyle Shanahan moved on from that game like he had no problems, like it was no big deal, like he didn't blow that game. I was very upset. I'm not a person that, hold grudges, because I am a Christian and I don't believe in holding grudges against people. I do believe in forgiveness. But against Kyle Shanahan, I was not rooting for the 49ers last night. I was hoping that they, lost the game. I really didn't care how they lost the game as long as they lost the game, because I was very upset with Kyle Shanahan. It was a lot of things that Kyle Shanahan did when he was here with the Atlanta Falcons that rubbed me the wrong way. The main thing was him losing that Super Bowl and not apologizing to the fans and not apologizing to the players and saying it was my fault that we blew that lead. Lately I was hearing in the Super Bowl that the 49ers, him and Jimmy Garoppolo were kind of joking about the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl and how we blew that 28-3 lead and how he had moved on and it was kind of like a joke to him. And I felt like I was rubbed the wrong way by hearing that news. I don't know if the media made that up, but if it was not made up, I was very disappointed. And like I said, the way that he just moved on, like it was no big deal, and that it was no big deal to the Atlanta Falcon fans and to the franchise, which we are a franchise who has never won a Super Bowl. And I was definitely upset, and definitely thought that Shanahan owed the Atlanta Falcons at least one more season to come back and try to right the wrong. I felt like he left his work undone, and he just moved on to be a head coach, which I was fine. I don't believe in holding coaches down or holding players down. If you're a free agent and you can move on and you can get a better job or become a head coach from a coordinator position, feel free to do that. I just didn't like the way that he went about it. I really felt like he kind of blew off the Atlanta Falcons and kind of disrespected the organization, the way he went about it, the way that he talked about, he didn't really felt like he did anything wrong in that Super Bowl. It really rubbed me the wrong way. Another thing that he did early on when we first got him in 2015 that rubbed me the wrong way is the way that he treated Roddy White. If you remember when he first came in, him and Roddy White butted heads, and Roddy White is a player that just got into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. I was not happy with the way that Roddy White's career ended with the Atlanta Falcons. I felt like he was done a disservice, and he was kind of pushed out of the back door, and he was not offered the same sentiments that we offered Tony Gonzalez, where Tony Gonzalez kind of retired on his own, by his own free will. And Roddy White was an Atlanta Falcons lifer, and I felt like he was kind of pushed out of the back door, and he wasn't treated right by the organization, and he wasn't treated right by Kyle Shanahan. If you remember when Shanahan came in 2015, Roddy White talked about how he was drawing up pretty much every single play to Julio Jones on pretty much every single play. He was wearing Julio Jones out. He wasn't spreading the ball around. He wasn't giving Roddy White any opportunities in the game to have any type of impact on games. He even went out and got Leonard Hankerson, if you remember, the receiver that he coached with the Washington Redskins. He had brung him in to be like the number 2 wide receiver, and he had kind of pushed Roddy White down on the depth chart. And that was another thing that rubbed me the wrong way, because I felt like like I said, Roddy White was kind of pushed out of the back door by the organization. He wasn't done right. He wanted to re-sign with the Falcons, and he was just basically let go, which forced him into the retirement because he didn't want to play for any other team. So I really felt bad for Roddy White, and I felt like the main reason that Roddy White was pushed out of the back door was mainly because of Kyle Shanahan. It was evident, they talked about it in the media, that Kyle Shanahan and Roddy White didn't get along, and it was for good reason, because Roddy White was a veteran receiver at the time, and he basically was just offering up his sentiments or offering up suggestions to the coaches about the way that the offense should have been ran and how he could still contribute to the team. And I felt like he was disrespected by the organization. Because if you look at a player like Larry Fitzgerald that still plays with the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like Roddy White could have been a similar type of player to Larry Fitzgerald, as far as being one of those players that could have played into his later years. But being that he was pushed out of the back door by Shanahan, mainly by Shanahan because they didn't get along. So Dan Quinn was kind of forced to pick sides between Roddy White and between Kyle Shanahan. And Shanahan ended up winning out when it came to the power struggle of who was right and who was wrong. And I just felt bad for Roddy White. And that was one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way early on when Kyle Shanahan was brought in. I felt like the offense that he ran, he should have got Roddy White more involved. And Roddy White, I still felt like he still could contribute to the team, but he wasn't given given that opportunity. So I felt like that was just wrong altogether. So that was one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way. But the main thing that rubbed me the wrong way with Kyle Shanahan, was the way that he went about getting that new job with the 49ers, and how he never apologized to the Atlanta Falcons fans. I don't know if he apologized to the players, like privately in the locker room after that Super Bowl, but I know he didn't apologize publicly. And he kind of made light of us losing that Super Bowl, and kind of made light of he wouldn't have done anything differently. And that's what I feel like what goes around comes around. And that's why I feel like last night in the Super Bowl, he basically relapsed and had another horrific Super Bowl where a team was able to come back after being down in the Super Bowl to win the game. So I was glad that he did blow the game and the 49ers end up losing that game, because we would have never heard the end of it if Shanahan would have won a Super Bowl before Dan Quinn. And everybody already gives Kyle Shanahan all of the credit for us going to the Super Bowl in 2016. And I just felt like things would have just got even worse for Dan Quinn. If you felt like Dan Quinn was on the hot seat last year, if the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan would have walked away with that Super Bowl trophy and a Super Bowl ring, Dan Quinn would have been under so much criticism. Him and Matt Ryan, I feel like they took so much undue criticism about how they lost that game, and everybody forgets that Kyle Shanahan was the play caller, and he basically cost the Atlanta Falcons a Super Bowl victory. So nothing did my heart more joy than to see the 49ers take that L yesterday, and to see Kyle Shanahan's face on the sideline when he basically could see that they were going to lose the game. He looked just like a sad puppy on the sideline, and I was happy that he finally got to feel what Dan Quinn, what Matt Ryan, what all of the diehard Atlanta Falcons fans have been feeling ever since that 2016 Super Bowl loss. So I don't want to gloss over Kyle Shanahan as not being a good coach, because he is a good coach and a good offensive mind. Do I believe he's a genius? I don't believe he's a genius. A lot of the plays he runs are similar, out of similar formations. I just believe he's a good play caller. He knows how to dial up plays. He knows when to take the shot plays. And he's just a good overall offensive mind in the game. So I do got respect for Kyle Shanahan. I don't want people to take it, get this mixed up or get it confused of thinking that I think that Shanahan is a bad coach, because I don't believe that Kyle Shanahan is a bad coach. I just think that he does a poor job of managing the clock and calling plays in the crunch time. So all of those ones that love Kyle Shanahan, you finally got to see what I've been saying all along, that he didn't, take the team to the Super Bowl when he was with us. He did not take our team to the Super Bowl. It was a bevy of things. The defense played well down the stretch. Special teams, the offense, we played good all the way around in those Super Bowls. So with that being said, you guys let me know what you think in the comments, what you felt about the game. As I said, big ups to the Kansas City Chiefs. I love the game plan later in the game when they started to take the deep shots down the stretch of the game. I felt like Kansas City could have blown out the 49ers if they would have played more free and more loose. I kind of felt like the Chiefs played it close to the vest yesterday. They played the game way too tight. The game was way too tight. I feel like the Chiefs could have really blown the San Francisco out of the water if they would have threw the ball deep more earlier on in the game. I felt like the cornerbacks, the DBs for the 49ers couldn't run with Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They couldn't run with those guys. So I felt like they needed to stretch out the field more and throw more deep passes. And they did that in the second half. And mainly in that fourth quarter when they were able to come back, picking up that 3rd and 15 by the Kansas City Chiefs. So, like I said, big ups to the Kansas City Chiefs. Big ups to Andy Reid, Big Red, for getting his first Super Bowl trophy. I do believe that Andy Reid is actually one of the most underrated NFL coaches of all time. He's definitely a better coach than Kyle Shanahan, and he did his thing in the Super Bowl. He did a good job of calling plays and helping out Eric Bieniemy. Late in the game, I seen Andy Reid with the play calling sheet, and it looks like he was calling some of those plays down the stretch with him and Pat Mahomes leading the way. So just a big win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I was happy to see them get that monkey off their back. It had been over 50 years since the Chiefs had won a Super Bowl. So I was just happy for Pat Mahomes and happy for the whole Chiefs organization for getting that trophy back in Kansas City after a 50-year drought. Hopefully my Atlanta Falcons can do the same next year and be one of those teams that can end the drought and can finally win a Super Bowl trophy for the first time. But like I said, this has been your boy Jew. Let me know what you think in the comments about the game, about where the Atlanta Falcons are headed with the draft and all of that. But I appreciate you guys. Definitely hit that like button. Please subscribe. But I'll holler at y'all in the next video. Peace.